On SolarQuotes TV this month, we're going off-grid. The people who've decided to never pay an electricity retailer again, and how you can do it. From taking an island off the grid to taking a whole community off the grid. Plus, we look at going off-grid in the city, and just what it takes to create a truly sustainable off-grid Earthship. So if you're worried about the zombie apocalypse, you won't want to miss this episode of SolarQuotes TV. Hello, and welcome to SolarQuotes TV, episode 9. I want to start with a whole island that's gone off-grid, King Island, a Tasmanian island in the Bass Strait with 1,800 residents. Many years ago, King Island was a big problem for Hydro Tasmania. They're responsible for supplying electricity to the residents. The problem being that it was costing Hydro Tasmania more per kilowatt hour to generate the electricity from diesel than they were allowed to charge the residents. So, for the past 20 years, they've been installing renewable generation on top of the existing 6 megawatt diesel power station. So now they've got 470 kilowatts of utility scale solar, about 500 kilowatts of residential solar, and 2,700 kilowatts of wind power, and a 3 megawatt, 1.5 megawatt hour battery. To manage the variable nature of the wind and solar, they've also installed 2 1 megawatt flywheels. These are massive steel discs that spin up to provide extra mechanical inertia, which helps stabilize power quality. One of the ways they work is, if the frequency dips, they help bring it back up again. They've also got 3 half megawatt dynamic resistors. So if the frequency in the grid gets above the magic 50 Hertz, the resistors can jump in, soak up the generation, and almost instantly bring the frequency down. So how's it all going? Well, the good news for us energy nerds is we can go online and see in real time all the energy flows. How good's that? But before you jump online and geek out, here are the main outcomes of this massive project. They've saved 30 million litres of expensive, stinky diesel. On average, they've had 65% renewables throughout the year, often with 100% renewable generation for up to 22 hours at a time. That's pretty cool. And all this at a cost to consumers of 19 cents a kilowatt hour. So how do they get closer to the magic 100% renewables? Well, they need more generation, bigger batteries, and smart modern inverters that can do much of the system stability through virtual inertia instead of mechanical. Let's hope they get there. Now, any show on off-grid would not be complete without my next guest. When it comes to off-grid, this man is truly a world expert, a former solar installer who lives in an off-grid community of 70 people, 30 homes, and 1 DJ. He's in Mura, just outside Melbourne. Welcome to the show, Mr. Glen Morris.
Thanks, Finn. I'm speaking to you from my studio here at the Mura Co-op at Mount Tullibawang in the Yarra Valley. It's the land of the Wurundjeri people, which is about 65 kilometres from Melbourne in Victoria. It's an intentional off-grid community that was set up way back in 1974. Right now, there's about 70 people living in about 30 off-grid homes. While it started as more of an alternative living community concerned with ecology and social alternatives, these days the members come from a much more diverse range, including nurses, builders, academics, artists, electricians, and of course solar installers like me. This is actually where I run my Smart Energy Lab from, which does field testing of solar, battery, energy management products, and making online content for my YouTube channel, and a bit of design consultancy for larger projects. Working from home has been the norm for me even before COVID restrictions. Mostly, I ran residential solar and battery training courses here at the Mura Co-op. We have 2 electricians who live on site and can assist with the training and compliance, as well as one of the most extensive collections of battery and solar inverters in Australia, supplied by companies who wish my students to train on their products. We have recently gone all electric with our vehicles too. There are now 4 EVs and 2 plug-in EVs that are serviced by our newly built electric vehicle charging station that has 3 22 kilowatt AC fast chargers and numerous 10 amp slow charging outlets backed up by their own battery systems. I live with 5 other people, that's 3 children and my partner, and we run various battery and solar PV systems such as Selectronic, Alpha ESS, Victron inverters, connected to a range of batteries, including an LG Chem 13 kWh Resu, the Alpha ESS, and simplified lithium ferrophosphate batteries. Generation is from 10 kilowatts of directly connected solar panels with another 50 kilowatts scattered across the roofs of my labs, including a 35 kilowatt solar tracker in the paddock 250 metres away. The house is constructed of straw bales with double glazing and a large amount of thermally separated thermal mass. Heating is by hydronics, with the energy coming from a mixture of wood-fired boiler, that's in winter, and a 3-phase PV diverter to several large super insulated hot water tanks. The reason I have so many different systems powering my house is that I use my house and those of my 6 neighbours here on the co-op as test sites for the equipment that is supplied to my lab. So Finn, that's our setup. It's a great little community, and I can tell you in these COVID times there's been a lot of interest in people joining us up here at Mount Tulibawong at the Muramura Cooperative Community.
Okay, on to our installer profile for this month. We check out a great, no expense spared solar and battery setup in Strathalbyn, South Australia, and we chat to one of SA's top off-grid installers.
G'day, I'm Colin Lord from Apex Energy. I've been installing and designing off-grid solar systems for over 20 years. I'm with Alan and Sally Smith, and I help them to design their solar system. So the system is a standard off-grid system. It's about 10 kilowatts of solar. It's a Selectronic inverter, and it's PPE batteries. So the batteries are made in Melbourne. The Selectronic inverter is also made in Melbourne. Living off-grid is very easy these days. We can do a load profile before you move in. We understand what appliances loads are, and we can design a system around that. So we can build a solar system for anyone really. So fortunately, when I met Sally had a really good idea on energy efficiency, on how to build a good house. And so she picked energy efficient appliances and built an energy efficient home. So it's a standard house with normal appliances, dishwasher, washing machine, underfloor heating. So you can pretty well have any house off-grid.
Oh, it's definitely been a lifelong dream to build a house here. To see it come to fruition is just amazing. We're so happy here. We did look into actually being connected to the grid, but the closest power is about a kilometre away, so I think it was going to cost us between $50,000 to $70,000 to connect us to the power, and then of course we'd be paying bills on top of that. So we started looking into off-grid systems. It worked out under $50,000. It was definitely a cost thing, and it wasn't because we're hippies or we wanted to save the earth. We love that we're generating all our own power and we are sustainable, but we're certainly not low users, and so we don't scrimp on creature comforts. We do have to keep an eye on it in winter, so in the morning sometimes we're like, oh, we're a little bit low, we won't put the underfloor, that sounds so terrible, we won't put the underfloor heating on. The underfloor heating is definitely an excessive thing that we didn't need. It was one of those tick box things that probably didn't align with my energy efficient build, but it aligned with what we wanted and how we wanted to live, and we wouldn't change that for sure. We pretty much haven't ever needed the generator. The only reason it's clicked in is because we've overloaded the system. And all it does is, we get a warning. I'll go turn the dryer off and the dishwasher and we'll be fine. I have had everything on before in the middle of the day. Yeah. Underfloor heating, washer, dryer, dishwasher. I'm like, oh my gosh, 14 kilowatts.
14 kilowatts of power.
Yeah.
Well, what are you doing?
Yeah, a lot of people think if you're living off grid, you can't have this, you can't have that. You can. You just need to design the system properly and work with someone that knows what they're doing to make sure you've got a system that can work with how you live.
So when I first started installing off-grid systems, it was when solar panels were so expensive. The batteries were small, the solar panels were small, but now solar's become very cheap. Batteries are becoming cheaper and cheaper, and the systems that we can provide now really will power any house.
Angus has just woken up from his nap and Matilda's just got home from sports day. So
at school.
She's in reception and Angus is 3, Matilda is 5. And we definitely love the fact that our system does have room to move, because they are definitely going to be the energy users of the future at this house, aren't you? It's just amazing to be in it and enjoying it, and seeing your dream, I mean, really, it was always a goal, and we've worked towards it very hard, but we couldn't have got here without the help of Colin and years of assistance, really.
And that's common. I often meet customers years before they actually build, and then I'm there with them through the design process, through the installation process, and luckily I get to see the finished product as well.
Now here's a question we get asked all the time. I'm fed up with paying a daily charge to access the grid. How do I tell my retailer to get stuffed and take my suburban house totally off the grid? Well, it's certainly possible to go off grid in the city, and it's been done with varying degrees of success in recent years. The example I'm going to take is in the Perth suburbs, and it was built by a bloke called Martin Chape, and he started the project way back in 2011. The system has evolved over the years, and now he's settled on 10 kilowatts of solar, a 20 kilowatt hour BYD battery, a diesel generator, a Selectronic SP Pro inverter to control the battery and the genset, and a Selectronic compatible Fronius Primo solar inverter. If you'd like a similar setup on your home, professionally designed and installed, don't expect much change from $50,000, and you'll still need to pay for diesel. So, now Martin has his system working nicely after many years of experimenting. What is his advice to others who want to go off-grid in the city? Simple. Don't. Go hybrid instead. Hybrid is simply solar, batteries, and a grid connection. Martin has realised that if you have a grid connection available, you should absolutely use it as a cheap, silent backup generation source. It means you don't need a dirty genset, and you can get away with less expensive battery storage. And there's no need for a specialist off-grid design and install. It will save you a fortune. So, to answer the question that we get all the time, can you go off-grid in the city? Yes, absolutely you can. The technology is available, it works brilliantly. But I wouldn't. I'd keep that connection to the grid. You'll still get no bills, but you'll have that grid connection and you can share your solar with your neighbours. Now, keeping up the theme from recent weeks, I'm handing over the solar tech segment to a pioneering Aussie company that just happened to make what many regard, including me, as the world's best off-grid inverter. Over to you, Lindsay Hart from Selectronic.
Selectronic build battery inverters right here in Melbourne. We did our first inverter in 1980, and I've lived off the grid since 1994, so I guess that makes me a solar nerd. We empower people's lives using our SP Pro battery inverter, which can convert DC to AC, control solar output, battery current, and even control an auto start generator if needed. Our technology can work on the grid or off the grid. Today we'll concentrate off the grid. Now, off-grid systems, it's an essential service. Do it properly, please. These inverters are bi-directional and have full control over real and reactive current. You add this to the fact that we use a 50 Hertz transformer, and they give you a very robust inverter for off-grid. Here's a couple of things you've got to think about though. Electrical loads are often complex, resistive, inductive, high inrush requirements. So it's important you understand the continuous output of your inverter. Don't be misled by 30-minute ratings or VA ratings. Look for true continuous output power 24/7. Then go a step further and look at the continuous charging current of the unit. Then have a look at the peak outputs that it can handle. Will it start that welder? Will it start that big aircon unit? You've got to think about these things for off-grid. Now, for example, this inverter here is 7.5 kilowatts continuous output power, 11.25 for 30 minutes, and a huge 18 kilowatts peak output for 30 seconds. Really important as well that you make sure the battery can actually supply the current that these big inverter outputs need. This has been a common mistake of the last 2 to 3 years with some of the new modern batteries being employed. Now, being a bi-directional inverter means we can take power from the battery, excess power from AC coupled solar, and power from the generator. AC coupled solar is really good where you've got high daytime loads, very efficient, or you can use DC coupled solar where you might have more nighttime loads. By the way, my off-grid home is running all the modern appliances, swimming pool, a gas heated spa, heat pump for hot water, rehearsal studio, everything you expect to see in a normal home, and for 27 years I have not had a problem. Sure, the system's grown, but it still has never let me down.
Wow, truly impressive the way Selectronic has adapted and thrived in a really competitive global market and keeping manufacturing in Australia. It's time once again for our Where's Ned segment, where we try and track down our reviewer of reviews, Ned. and he takes us through a review from our website that has caught his attention. Ned, over to you. Where the bloody hell are you?
Where the bloody hell am I, Finn? I'm in beautiful Henley Beach, about off the grid as I ever go. 20 minutes from the city. And of course, I've got an off-grid review for you. This one comes in from Craig. It's from a company called RedEarth Energy Storage. This is my dog Henley. And the review goes something like this. Fantastic service, supply and installation. Firstly, I wish to let you know that Cameron and Peter managed to install my magnificent drop bear off-the-grid system to my shed in extreme conditions. Not only was it about 46 degrees in the shed, holy crap, but they had to deal with my incredibly painful zoo / my goats. How insane is that? This, I am sure, they will not forget. The installation itself was well above my expectations. Thanks guys, top job. I would also like to thank Goran for all the years and patience designing this for me. And thank you RedEarth, the product is perfect. I have no trouble in recommending RedEarth to anyone along with Cameron for his exceptional work. So there you go, Craig gave that 5 stars, did a lot of research and got the perfect system designed for him. Now I'm just gonna go for a little beach walk with my dog Henley on Henley, and I'll see you guys wherever I'm gonna end up next month. Catch you then.
And now, for a man who lives off-grid in the Adelaide Hills with a stable full of horses, Ronald Brackles!
Hello, everyone. So, you've seen my home, haven't you?
It's pretty hard to miss.
Well, I brought it in. Here it is. I built it with my own 2 hands. Beautiful, isn't it? You can see that this is an Australian house because of the spiders in the yard. But...
And because of the shit architecture.
yes.
Sorry.
But this is missing something that every Australian home needs. Solar. So, stick that on the roof and we're all set to generate clean energy. But this home is on grid. So some people like to add a battery. There we have one there. So you've got this beautiful home. You can put a battery on it. Your battery can store your solar energy. But this is assuming it's connected to the grid. Now, some people want to get a battery, whack on their home, cut the cord so they're completely off grid.
Living the dream.
Living a, well, yeah, dream, or maybe a nightmare, because you can go off grid with a $10,000 battery system these days.
Yes.
And that's not an El Cheapo battery, that's like one from a good manufacturer, and it would be possible to live off grid like that. But maybe only if you never wanted to be loved again.
Why is that?
Well, one person, here we have Mr. Cosplayer, he could live off that. Well, if he was like me, careful with energy, didn't use much. But if there were 2 of them, well, let's just say each time he does something stupid, like put a load of washing through the clothes dryer at night and drains the battery, she's going to be pretty cross at him, and vice versa. So my advice is don't try to live off-grid with a $10,000 battery unless A, you're a complete nutter like me, or B, you're looking to get divorced. In real life, a 2-person household is going to need at least $30,000 on a battery system alone, and they'll have to be careful with their electricity use. If you don't want to be careful with your electricity use, you're going to have to spend more. Add a few more people, a couple of children.
Oh God.
Then, yeah, you're looking at maybe $60,000 or more to go off grid. If you really value your being off grid, then that's fine. But unless you're in a rural area and you have to pay a huge amount of money anyway just to get connected to the grid, I don't see it being worthwhile. Let's just ignore the cost of the battery. Let's say you want it in a pub raffle. It makes you completely independent of the grid. You don't have to use any grid power. Well, you could go off grid in that situation, but it doesn't make financial sense even if your battery is completely free. I've got a graph here. You pay maybe $1 a day roughly in supply charges to remain connected to the grid.
Yep.
So if you go off grid, you're saving $365 a year, roughly.
Yep.
Depends on where you are. But if you have just a 5-cent solar feed-in tariff and a 6.6 kilowatt solar system, then you're going to save the amount you get in solar feed-in tariff is going to be almost equal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Another problem is, if you're off-grid, you can't use a VPP. Now, if you have a really low opinion of VPPs and think you'll only save $200 a year by joining one, well, you're ahead with this $200 a year VPP and a 5-cent feed-in tariff. If you have a 10-cent feed-in tariff, you're clearly way ahead. 10-cent feed-in tariff and a VPP payment, even better. Doesn't make financial sense to go off-grid.
Even if this off-grid system
Was completely free.
don't cut that. Don't cut that cord.
Don't cut the cord if you like money. Let's say you've got plenty of money and you say, I value independence. In that case, I would say, okay, please love money more and stay on grid for the sake of everyone else. Because this is how much extra emissions you'll avoid each year by staying on grid with just a 6.6 kilowatt solar system.
So that's cumulative.
Cumulative, 4.5 tons a year. So a car will put out about 3 tons of CO2 emissions per year. So please, for the sake of everyone, even if you're independently minded, stay on the grid with your solar and battery.
If you have a grid available. So if you've got a grid connection, don't lose it, use it. You'll be helping your wallet, you'll be helping the environment, and you'll make Ronald happy. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. For our finale this week, we're heading to the Adelaide Hills to take a look at an off-grid home that takes things to the next level. It only uses 3 kilowatt hours a day of energy. Not only does it supply all its own energy, the Earthship is made from recycled materials, including tyres and beer bottles. It cost about $150,000 to build and has a tiny 1 kilowatt solar system plus 8 usable kilowatt hours of lead acid battery and solar thermal hot water. It's truly sustainable because, as I said, it uses less than 3 kilowatt hours of electricity per day. That means it can get away with a tiny, affordable off-grid energy system. How does it use so little energy? Well, the thermal envelope of the house is outstanding, keeping it warm in winter and cool in summer, using just the sun for heat, and to cool, it uses air piped from earth tubes buried deep underground. It's now available as an Airbnb, but don't expect to be able to stay there anytime soon. It's entirely booked out for the next year. It seems like living sustainably and comfortably is really popular. Well, that's the episode for the month, all about off-grid living. What have we learned? That you can take whole islands off the grid, you can take whole communities off the grid, you can live in the lap of luxury off-grid if you're willing to spend the money. And if you've got a beautifully designed small house, you can actually live off-grid quite affordably. But Ronald also let us know that if you do have a grid connection, please use it. It's better for your wallet and it's better for the environment. The grid is an amazing thing that we really should use to share that renewable energy where it's needed the most. So that was living off grid. You've got everything you need to know when the zombie apocalypse comes. See you next time, if there is one.
Brains.